नमस्कार, मी ॲडव्होकेट मेघना धैर्यवान बोलते आणि मी तुमचं स्वागत करते MSD लीगल चॅनलमध्ये. आणि सर्वात आधी आपण आजचा वेबिनार चालू करण्याआधी मी तुमचं अभिनंदन करते की तुम्ही लीगल वेबिनारमध्ये सहभाग घेतलेला आहे. कालच्या ओपनिंग सेशनमध्ये सुद्धा खूप चांगला प्रतिसाद सर्वांकडून मिळाला आणि म्हणूनच आजच्या डिटेल्ड सेमिनारमध्ये आज आपण अनेक कॉपरेटिव्ह सोसायटीच्या अनेक अंगांवर आपण चर्चा करणार आहोत आणि हे विषय अतिशय महत्त्वाचे आहेत आणि सोसायटीच्या बऱ्याच इश्यूजवर आज आपण प्रामुख्याने बोलणार आहोत. त्यामध्ये मेनली आपण 10 टॉपिक्स घेणार आहोत आणि बरेच लोक अजून जॉईन करतात. सो आपण जस्ट 2 मिनिटं फक्त आपण वेट करूया सो दॅट वी कॅन कंटिन्यू विथ द सेशन. हॅलो महक, थँक्यू सो मच. Thank you for joining. कालचा जो ओपनिंग सेशन झालेला आहे 30 मिनिट्सचा व्हिडिओ मी यूट्यूब चॅनलवर सुद्धा अपलोड केलेला आहे, तर तो सुद्धा तुम्ही बघू शकता. आणि MSD लीगल जे माझं यूट्यूब चॅनल आहे त्यामध्ये सुद्धा अनेक लीगल विषयांवर म्हणजे जसं क्रिमिनल, प्रॉपर्टी, डोमेस्टिक व्हायलन्स, डिवोर्स, लीगल डॉक्युमेंटेशन, त्याच्यानंतर FIR, NC अशा वेगवेगळ्या विषयांवर आम्ही मराठी आणि इंग्लिशमधून व्हिडिओज पोस्ट केलेले आहेत. आपण जरूर बघा. आणि रिसेंटली हा चॅनल आम्ही चालू केला कारण आपण सगळेजण मोर दॅन 4 मंथ्स वी आर इन लॉकडाऊन आणि टू ऑप्टिमाइज ऑन द अवेलेबल टाईम मला असं वाटलं की थोडंसं आपण टू क्रिएट अवेअरनेस वी कॅन स्टार्ट विथ दिस लीगल सिरीज नेमली नो द लॉ. त्याचप्रमाणे माझी अजून एक सिरीज आहे विच इज लीगल शॉर्ट्स. त्याच्यामध्ये आम्ही लेटेस्ट जे न्यूज असतात त्याची लीगल साईड, लीगल ॲनालिसिस सांगण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो. देर इज ए कमेंट फ्रॉम वर्गीस सॅम्युअल, देर इज नो ऑडिओ. सो ऑडिओ येतो आहे की नाही येतो आहे मला तुम्ही कन्फर्म करा. आणि तुम्हाला हा व्हिडिओ तुमच्या टाईमलाईनवर शेअर करायचा आहे. लेट दिस रीच टू मॅक्झिमम पीपल because these are the real burning issues and the real pain areas of the society. So it must reach to maximum people. It's a free webinar. So maximum लोकांबरोबर तुमच्या टाईमलाईन्सवर हा व्हिडिओ शेअर करा आणि लाईक करायला विसरू नका, तर मला समजेल जो कंटेंट आम्ही सांगण्याचा प्रयत्न करतो आहे इट इज रिचिंग यू ऑल. आय होप द ऑडिओ अँड व्हिडिओ इज क्लिअर. जस्ट गिव मी थम्स अप. Okay, the audio and video is okay. We'll start with the session. Yes. Okay. So once again I welcome you all. आणि जर काल तुम्ही अटेंड केलं नसेल, इन केस लेट मी इंट्रोड्यूस मायसेल्फ. I am Advocate Meghana Dhairevan and I have established MSD Legal in 2008. Recently we have completed 4 years of the office and today we have entered into 4th year of our MSD Legal office. So that is the reason why the webinar was planned today on the 16th of August. Every year on 15th August and 16th August we have some kind of a program which is conducted by us. And not only that, apart from this we also have regular trainings and programs which are going on for the large cooperative societies, for government offices. We do conduct various seminars on the various legal topics as required by the client or which can be taken up by us suo motu as such. And we also try to give daily legal updates on various important issues. The various directions are coming from government, from the Supreme Court. So we try to circulate that through our WhatsApp group as well. So in case you are interested in receiving legal updates, you can join us at our WhatsApp group, and on the same number on which this registration was made, you can contact me on WhatsApp so that I can join you in our WhatsApp news group as such. So let us begin with today's topic. We have discussed yesterday what is the legal mechanism that we have in India. Yesterday we were talking on the occasion of Independence Day and of course we have understood how the overall the judicial mechanism works in India. We as we have already discussed, there is a separation of powers that we are exercising in India. So we have legislative, executive and judiciary as three main organs of law, wherein legislative is nothing but the parliament who makes the law, executive who is the implementation part of the law, and then we have a judiciary wherein wherever there is a conflict or disputes, or if there is any irregularity in existing laws, it has to be interpreted in the manner in which the public welfare is achieved, and that is what the role of judiciary is. So wherein there is no litigation by citizens or so, the court, the Honorable High Court and Supreme Court is empowered to give their own suo motu actions and to give their directions which has enforceability of law. So that is what we discussed. Now why we are discussing this in a cooperative law seminar? So let me give you the context. The society itself is a democratic setup, first of all. So whatever setup we have as a country, in all over India, you must be knowing that we are the largest democratic country who practices the democracy and who practices the central and state policy as such. So we in our state laws, in our local municipal laws also, we practice this spirit, and the society itself is reflection of this setup. So let us understand this from a broader point of view. Society, what is society? First of all, society has no independent existence, but society is comes into existence through its promoters, through its members. So the people come together with a common objective of accommodation and to share a common facilities. That is very important, and they form a society as per Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. So every society is registered under MCS Act, and it is given a unique registration number, and the year is registered with the registration authority. Now every member has to every person who is a flat owner or who owns the premises in that society, whether it is shop or it is a commercial premises, whether it is godown, he has to obtain a membership in a formal procedure which is given in MCS Act. So first is the society. Although people come together, they form a society. Society becomes a juristic person. That means it also it can sue the people, and other people can sue the society. Society has a different legal entity which can be entered into a different contracts and agreements, and therefore society is having a legal existence which is separate from its member. And of course society operates with its seal. We all know, we all have share certificates with us. Share certificate bears the signature of all committee members, that is chairman, secretary and the treasurer, and it has to bear the seal of the society. So seal of the society is nothing but the signature of the society. Like we as a independent persons or individuals, we have our unique signature. It can be a written signature, it can be any kind of a symbol, but we have a unique signature which is used to sanction a legal transaction. Likewise, society also has a common seal, which is a society seal, and through which society operates, society enters into the contract or agreements or any kind of a legal transaction that it has in question. So that is the as far as the society is concerned. Next is the members. Who is member? This is very, very important and very core element of Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. Now today's discussion, this webinar of practical aspects of Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act for effective society management. So we are talking about housing societies. Let me tell you, there is a major amendment which has come in 9th March 2019, wherein chapter 13B was inserted into a Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act 1960, and the separate set of law was given exclusively for the purpose of housing societies. Now of course all the provisions were already there. Certain new elements were added. 5 new definitions were given, like active member was newly taken, then certain provisions with respect to recovery with respect to the elections of the society was modified. But apart from that, the entire set of law was already there. However, as we all know, cooperative society is a very big concept, and we also have other kinds of society wherein it is an agricultural society. We have banks, we have non-banking financial institutions which also comes under the cooperative society. So today's discussion is mainly aimed at the housing societies that we typically have in Maharashtra. And because cooperative society is a subject of a state, every state has their own independent set of cooperative law. So in Maharashtra, we have Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act 1960. Then we also have MOFA, that is Maharashtra Organization of Flats Act, which talks about the builders, the issues with builders, the agreements and the non-compliance by the members, societies, third parties, promoters, and also the penal provisions is given by the under the MOFA as well. So for the societies or for the flats which are still under construction, they are booked with the builders, and it is under the process of forming the society. They are all taken care by Maharera. Now Maharera is again a state subject. We all know the Real Estate Regulation Act was came into force in 2016, and all the societies have all the states have to have the separate individual RERA Act. So we have Maharera, that is Maharashtra Real Estate Regulation Act 2016, under which the Maharera is the judicial body which was set up to solve the issues with respect to builders, with respect to the pre-construction stage, with respect to the bookings and the non-compliance under the sale purchase agreement that happens between the buyer of the flat and the builder. So that has nothing to do with Cooperative Act. It is a separate set of law, and it is not parallel. It has a different application, and MCS has a different application as far as the management of the society is concerned. So for operational issues, for any kind of management of the society affairs, MCS is the Bhagavad Gita for the cooperative law. We have all the answers, all kinds of a provision in Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act as such. So there is absolutely no gaps in regular affairs, conducting of the regular affairs of the society is concerned. However, what I notice is there is a large gap between what is being practiced, what is actually implemented by societies, and what is given in the law. Lot of people, they are not aware about the MCS provisions and even the bylaws, and they have their own set of law, they have their own set of regulations, due to which there are lot of issues which are faced by the members. Even it is difficult for managing committee members to conduct the regular society affairs, and therefore there is a great burden which is caused to the judiciary ultimately, and in all those things, all problems are converted into a litigations, and that does not give any resolution to anybody, but it is waste of time, money, and the efforts of the respective society members as such. So let us understand today what is the core issue of the societies that we are facing, and what are the practical aspects of the law. So today's session is not a classroom teaching wherein I would be discussing lot of technical issues as such, or lot of technical aspects of the law. However, I will try to give you the overview of main points that we have already circulated with you all, and on those 10 issues we will talk about the what is the practical aspect, what is the implementation side of the law, and how it can be implemented, and I will try to make it as simple as possible. Now I can see a lot of people who have joined, so welcome everybody. I hope there is no issue with the audio, and you have to share this video on your timeline so it should reach maximum people. So give me a thumbs up if it is okay, if audio and video quality is okay. And I hope you have seen the opening session as well. It has also been uploaded on our YouTube channel, which is MSD Legal. and I can see the lot of joining has happened on our Facebook page and on our YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much for joining us and for subscribing to our YouTube channel as well. So thank you so much. Yes, so let us continue. So first of all, we have seen what is society. The society is an independent legal juristic entity who can enter into the contracts and who can sue the other parties, and other parties can sue the society individually. And if there is any non-compliance from society, it has to be seen from the angle of cooperative law, which is mainly Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act, MOFA. And if the society pertains to a MHADA society, or if it pertains to the SRA, then the respective SRA and MHADA Act will apply additionally along with the MCS Act. So and of course the BMC and whatever local municipal corporation that you belong to will also have its own regulations which will guide upon the society with respect to, for example, fire entry or the water connection issues or electricity connection. So all those, the respective bodies will have their own regulations to be followed by the society as such. But mainly we have to understand it is a Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. Then let us understand who is member. Very, very important, and the core element of cooperative law, which often forgotten, and I can see the lot of importance and emphasis is put on the person secretary. However, we must understand that secretary is a member first of the society always. Like in the classroom, we all are the students of the teacher, and then we have one monitor who regulates the class in the absence of teacher, or who helps the teacher to regulate the class. So that is the exact role of the society, and not only that is the exact role of the secretary, and the managing committee members. They are basically the trustees, and we will discuss their roles and independent responsibility in a few minutes. However, let us understand the member first. So who is member? So member is two sets of people. One who applies at the time of society registration along with the other persons to share the common amenities, to share the common facilities, to share the accommodation at that respective plot which is built in the society or built in the particular set of premises. So it can be a set of warehouses, it can be a building, it can be a chawl or whatever it is, but in any form of collective shared accommodation where a person has a independent role of ownership, he can apply as a member, and they all come together and they form a society under Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act. So he is the first set of person who is a member. Second is the person who applies later on once the society is registered, and then the person applies for the registration, then he also become a member. So basically member is the two set of person. One who applies along with the chief promoter while the society is being registered, and once the society is registered, everybody who applies for the membership, they become a member, and of course they are given the share certificate with the seal and signature of the managing committee members. So he is the first set of owner, and of course his name is born first on the share certificate, on the face of the share certificate, being a original member of the flat. And whoever joins next, suppose A has purchased a flat and he has applied for the membership, A's name will be put on the share certificate, on the face of the share certificates, and subsequently if it is sold to B, that endorsement will happen on back of the share certificate, and along with the dates and along with the meeting reference wherein this change of ownership is processed. Of course there is a separate set of procedure which is clearly defined in Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act, which we are going to discuss in few minutes. So that endorsement will happen, and it will mention on the share certificate on the back side of the share certificate. However, he will become a member subsequent to the society registration. So even he has equal powers, equal rights, that is clearly given under section 154B of new cooperative law as such. So he is the one set of member. Then we have associate member, we have provisional member, we have nominal member. So these are all type of membership that has. So suppose A and B, they have the common names on the sale deed or the purchase deed of the flat. So B's name is existing on the sale deed, so he is also the co-owner of the flat. So his name can be put as a member, as an associate member in the with the permission of the member. He has to apply to the society to become a associate member along with the main member. However, either of them can operate at the time of voting or at the time of any participation in the society as such, because the principle that is followed in cooperative law is one member, one vote. So we must understand, wherever there is an associate member, he has to apply as per the prescribed procedure in the cooperative law, and then he can participate in the society's affairs as such. Then we have a provisional member, wherein in certain cases the society may make a certain member a provisional member, which is subject to the ratification, subject to the consent of the respective legal heirs or the nominees of the original member. So he is not given any kind of a voting right, he is not given any kind of a participation rights as such, but he is just to put on the record, so that keep the account going on. Like we have banks, we have nomination. So that is the whole purpose of nomination, wherein the bank account should not get freeze. Even if the person is deceased, the person who is nominated can take over the bank account, and he will later on operate the bank account, and so it can be handed over, the amounts can be handed over to the nominee and the respective legal heirs, as the case may be. So these are all procedures which are to made in the favor of welfare of the members. So as I have told you earlier, the entire cooperative law revolves around the welfare of the member and the member himself. So what are the rights of the member and what are the duties of member? Let us look at the favorite part of you all. I know you are waiting for this favorite part, that rights of the member. First right, because I have told you that already we have all come together and formed a society to share a common facilities, to share the common amenities, and of course to share the respective accommodation. So the very first right comes the right to occupy the flat or whatever premises. If it is a commercial shop, if it is a warehouse, so whatever is the premises, the first right of member is to occupy the premises. Second right is to participate in the society affairs, because he has been taken part in the society registration and he is a part and parcel of society. Society has no separate existence without members. Society operates as a with the body of the members. So it is always a collective existence of society and the members. Therefore, the member's second right is to participate in the society affairs. The very important third right is right to vote. Of course, it is subject to the type of membership that is there. If he is a provisional member, he does not have a right to vote. So that is also, we should take that into a consideration. So that is right to vote at the time of society meeting. He has a right to present himself and to give his presentation, to give his explanation and to give his opinions while the decisions are being taken in the society meetings. So that is all about the regular and open participation, the active participation of the members as such. And then of course he is also entitled to share the common facilities. For example, certain societies, they have a community hall, certain societies have gym or swimming pool, or they have a facility of lift. So all those common facilities which are available in the society premises, all the members are entitled to access with the these common facilities as such. So let us come to the duty part. What is the duties of the members, which nobody likes to hear or nobody wants to discuss much, because I have received lot of queries about the rights. And of course the very important which I forgot to mention is right to inspect the records and have the copies of the society records and registers, books of accounts. The section 32 of Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act is very clear that any member who wants to check and inspect any society's official record, that is the registers, all kinds of registers, statutory records which are mentioned under MCS Act, and books of accounts, audit reports, vouchers, all kinds of what you say, the registers, the visitors records, and all the records whatever is maintained by the society for its operations. For example, the statutory registers which are registered, which is a nomination register, sinking fund register, we have index register, then share transfer registers we have. So all those records, all the members have direct access to the society records, and nobody can deny any kind of access to any of the member. Now if you want to have a copy of those records, you can always apply in the prescribed format to the society secretary, and then all the records can be taken with the prescribed fee which is mentioned in the bylaws within 15 days from date of application. And then whatever fees is applicable, that has to be paid within 45 days after the supply of the receipts. So that is also very very important to understand, that whenever there is a lack of understanding, of there is any doubt with respect to the society operations, person can always go for having the copies of the society records, or the minutes, or the society minutes, or resolutions which are passed in the previous years or in the recent years. Whatever it is, you can just apply in the prescribed format. You can pay the prescribed fees as per the bylaws, and you can have the copies given to you by the society management as such. So that is very important, right? That is there in Maharashtra Cooperative Societies Act as such. So let us come to the duties part. So duties are nothing but, first is to maintain the premises in a clean and proper conditions, so that there is no unhealthy practices, or there is no hazards that can be caused to the neighbors and to the other adjoining property owners as such. And not to store any hazardous goods, not to do any illegal activities. So one is that it's the maintenance of the premises, and the maintenance of the, of course, the area around your house which you use generally. So that is nothing but the staircase or the corridor lift or to the entrance. So lot of people have all these issues in the car parking and all, wherein it is a dump, used as a dump area, and then there is a issues with respect to security, with issues with respect to health hazards. So all those things should be avoided as a bona fide member of the society. So that is very very important to understand. Secondly, not to do any unauthorized constructions or alteration to the main structure of the of the flat which you are actually using without the society's permission. Now there are two things. Now there is very thin line difference between the unauthorized construction and the alterations, and the authorized constructions and the alteration. So even if it is an authorized alteration or any major repairs that you are doing with respect to structure, you have to inform to the society office or the society secretary in writing that whatever alteration you are planning to do. And not only that, society management committee, that is the secretary, chairman and the committee members, have right to access your flat if there is any major leakage is concerned, major repairs is concerned. Of course it is subject to the reasonable intimation that is to be given to the member. It is not that म्हणजे रात्री 3 वाजता कोणी तुमच्याकडे येणार नाही. इट हॅज टू बी विथ अ रिझनेबल इंटिमेशन अँड फॉर द व्हॅलिड कॉज that you can enter into somebody else's premises. That is fine, but it has a right to the managing committee as well, because they are responsible for the overall operations, and they have to look after the interest of the society as well. So that is the one important element. Third is the very very important duty of every member. Please write, mention and underline in your notes if you are writing, that to pay your society maintenance, pay your society dues on regular basis, and in any case avoid to be a defaulter, because the moment you become a defaulter, there are a lot of negative consequences that happen illegally, and therefore all the rights which are given by MCS Act, they may come to an end, or they may be suspended until you actually again become a regular member. In fact, you cannot vote in the election unless you are a regular payer. So please understand this, and irrespective of the disputes with the managing committee member, or whatever it is, or the inter society or inter member issues. But irrespective of that, you must pay the society dues regularly. In fact, there is a GR in 2012 which clearly talks about the directions which are given to the society registrar, that if there is any dispute filed with the society registrar, and if that person who is filing the dispute is a defaulter, then firstly the registrar is given clear directions to ask such member to pay the society dues first, and then he should come back to the society registrar to take action on any kind of a grievance that he has. So that is very, very important, that you must pay your dues on time regularly. And if there is any issues with respect to society billing, in respect to the collection, then you must immediately seek the help and relief from the society registrar and the other mechanism which we are going to discuss in a bit. So I hope I have been very clear and I am able to convey the subject very well. So give me a thumbs up if it is yes. I hope there is no issue with the audio. Give me a thumbs up so I will understand, because some people are writing about the disturbance in the internet. And also you have to share this on your timeline. Let this reach to the maximum people. These are the pain areas of lot of people who are residing in the societies. In fact, I have received lot of queries about the various issues that is being faced. Yes. So with respect to these rights and duties, let us now talk about the managing committee members. And the star member of the managing committee is, yes, of course, a secretary. So secretary is, as I have told you, he is the monitor of the class, and he is the executive head of the society management. And the bylaws is very clear. In fact, I had one experience which I would share here. One of the secretary had a grievance with us, as in he told in the open hearing with the registrar that all the communications is addressed in my name. Whatever notices and whatever is the correspondence is happening in this matter, everything is addressed to me. So he had a personal grievance on that. So I tried to explain him that see, please understand, Mr. Secretary, that as per the bylaws, secretary is the functional head of the society, and all the correspondence including if it is raddi, it has to go to the secretary first. It has to go to the secretary, irrespective whether he likes or he does not like, whether he wants to work it over or he does not want to work it over. So it has to go to in the name of secretary. However, we must understand that it is never a personal address. We always write the name of the person and the secretary as his designation, because he is being addressed and he is being communicated in the position of secretary. It is not that personal role which is given to him. So it is an honorary position which secretary enjoys, and he is the basically the executive head who is responsible for the regular operations of the society along with all committee members. So although he is a star member of the committee and it is always a crown or the head position, however मला नेहमीच असं वाटतं की सेक्रेटरी हा काटेरी मुकुट आहे. त्याच्यामुळे सेक्रेटरी होणं सोपं आहे, पण सेक्रेटरीची जी कार्य आहेत ती निभावणं अतिशय मुश्किल आहे. आणि लॉट ऑफ पीपल फेल इन गिविंग जस्टिस टू वॉट एव्हर इज रिक्वायर्ड टू बी अधेअर्ड बाय दी सेक्रेटरी. So therefore we must understand that it is not a personal communication with the secretary. We have to write to the secretary in his name along with the designation, because of course if you send a letter and you write a secretary, how postman is supposed to deliver? So that is the whole issue that practically comes. So we are here to discuss the practical aspect. So therefore we must write name of the secretary and the designation and his flat address or the society office address, whatever is applicable in your case, and everything has to be sent by registered AD or by a private courier, or you can also hand deliver copy in the society's office. However, you must get the acknowledgement of the second copy of the letter that you have submitted. So these are all the practical aspects which are not known. Generally people try to have a oral communication and oral coordination with committee members even in the serious matters, and then they fail where there is a litigation, because there is no backtrack record which is being created for all these follow-ups and all this communication which is known to the secretary already. So that one thing we must understand. Now what about the chairman? What is the role of chairman? Chairman, as the name suggests, he is to decorate the chair of the society meeting. So he is a presiding officer, or he is the chief officer who will basically conduct the meeting. As far as his role is concerned, if there is any election, and since I have already told you, every member has one equal right. So one member, one vote. So in case there is a tie of any kind of a decision, so if there is a equal votes for any kind of a decision, then this chairman will have a casting vote. So if there is a proposal which has 23 votes, so it is a tie. Now this decision cannot be taken. So the chairman is given power under cooperative law that he will have a casting vote in that case, even if he has voted at first place as a member, but he has a casting vote, and then accordingly the decisions can be taken. So that is the independent role of the chairman, that is the independent role of the secretary. And treasurer, as we all know, he is responsible for the basically bookkeeping for all the funds management, cash and bank management related issues. So all these financial transactions is taken care of by the treasurer. Then other committee members are basically to team up with these three people and to conduct the society operation in effective manner. So although they are not given any specific role, but collectively managing committee is the body who governs the society operations. And of course, no doubt that the decisions taken by the managing committee is supreme, and it is binding to all the members. However, again I tell you that which a lot of people don't understand and they miss out, that the member is the core area of cooperative law. So any decision which is taken by managing committee members, which is detrimental in the interest of member, which is detrimental in the interest of society, can be quashed and can be set aside with respect to the managing committee's decision. So although it's a supreme body as far as the society is concerned, however, if such decision is ultra virus to the interest of the society, then such decision can be challenged with the respective legal mechanism. So that is very, very clear. But the role of the managing committee is nothing but that of trustee, and they are entrusted with the society operation, the society funds, the society records, and to conduct the regular affairs of the society in smoother manner. Their role is basically to conduct the society's operation in smoother manner, to keep all the statutory records updated and as required under the MCS Act. So that is the whole story as far as the managing committee is concerned. Of course, the topic is very big. In fact, I have the entire 3 hours training program which is coming up on this cooperative law, which will cover all the entire aspects, including the technical aspects, including the question and answer. It also includes the notes and all. So in case you are interested, you may register with me for that, for the detailed program. However, in 1 hour we cannot give justice to such a big topic. However, I want to give you the idea and overview of the subject, so at least the broader angle can be discussed in the simpler manner as such. So that is as far as the managing committee is concerned. So let me see what are the comments. Meena Dabade, how to become associate member. Meena, there is a clear procedure which is given under MCS Act, wherein you have to apply to the managing committee, and you can give the respective documents which are required. There are certain declarations which have to be given, and then you can become associate members with the society. And not only that, you have to pay the entrance fee also, because you are going to become a member. So in case you are a joint owner or so, you can become associate member. And in case you are not a joint owner, then you can become a nominal member. But that procedure is clearly given under the MCS Act, and with that I am going to cover in my training program which is coming up in September. I hope that is clear. Then one very important thing as far as the managing committee is concerned, who is eligible to become a managing committee member? First of all, a person who is defaulter himself cannot become a managing committee member. So that has to be understood in very clear manner. The whoever are the managing committee members, first of all they should be a legally a member within the meaning of section 154B. They should be a member in anyhow. If they are defunct, or they are declared as bankrupt by the civil court, or if there is a default by the member, or they are not interested with any of the conduct, or if there is issue which is caused by them every time to the society, if there is any wrong misrepresentation or any false representation which is given by such member, he is subject to expel from the managing committee membership. So there is a separate topic that is being coming up here as a cessation and expulsion, wherein we will talk about the expulsion as such. But a committee member, basically he has to be a genuine and valid bona fide member of the society at first, then he can become a committee member of the society. So that we need to bear that in mind. Now let us move further. Let us talk about the society maintenance and the bills. Now society maintenance has a lot of elements that is there. One is the maintenance part. What else can be put in the society bill? So basically I received a few queries in last couple of days during this process of registration, and people told us that they are receiving bills, but there is no breakup that is being given for the charges that is being levied. So the very first thing is that breakup has to be there. Whatever is the breakup of the respective accounts, it has to be mentioned very clearly, and then it can have the breakup such as maintenance, repairs and maintenance, contribution to different funds. You can have the service charges, which is nothing but the payments which are given to the labor or to the contractual staff that you have. For example, society manager, you have liftman, you have sweepers, or you have any accountant that may be coming in, you have auditors, you have advocates. So all those regular official expenses of the societies has to be clearly given in the respective society maintenance bill, along with the car parking if it is opted by the member, if there is any non-occupancy which is again applicable to a member. So all those things, whatever is the breakup of the society maintenance amount, has to be given clearly in society maintenance bill, and it has to be informed in a clear way. Now as far as the interest is concerned, the penal interest can be a 21%, or it can be the percentage which is decided as per the society's bylaws and which is given in the society bylaw copy. So you can always obtain that society's bylaws copy which is authorized and it is already registered with the registrar, and it is approved bylaws copy which is available with society office. So you can get that copy, you can see what is the prescribed rate of interest which is already decided amongst the original members. So that you can do. Now Raymond Gadkar is asking what is difference between maintenance charges and service charges. Raymond, maintenance charges are basically society maintenance charges which are required for the regular operations, and service charges is only a different head wherein we pay to the contractual staff or any professional payments that you do. So if it is to be shared amongst the member, it has to be clearly bifurcated as a service charges, because you also have the repairs and maintenance. Suppose maintenance of the lift is there, then contribution to the sinking funds or contribution to any repair fund that you have. So therefore it is a regular practice that service charges and the maintenance charges are separately bifurcated into a maintenance bill. So I hope this clarifies your query. Even in case of a penal interest and the arrears, it has to be clearly mentioned in the society bill, wherein what is the interest percentage that is levied and what is the amount of arrear that on which this gross penal interest is been levied as such. Yash Vaisal is asking what is the property tax is not mentioned. See Vaishali, if property tax is applicable to your society, generally the ward office, that is the municipal office, gives the bifurcation of property tax of each applicable to each flat in case the flat areas are different. So that calculation is always given to the society by the ward office, or you can obtain that from the ward office, that what is, suppose 1 lakh is the property tax, so you can have the breakup of 1 lakh flat wise, and that property tax is always levied in the maintenance bill. If it is levied but it is not shown separately, then that is a cause of concern, and you must take that up with a written application to managing committee, and then if it is not resolved, then you must apply to the society registrar. So that is the whole thing, because property tax, of course, everybody is subject to property tax and it is always paid, but maybe it is not shown in your society bill. That is what I can make out. So that is as far as the society bills are concerned. Now let us talk about the default of the member in this connection. So when the person has failed to pay consecutively for 3 months of the society dues. First of all, let us understand what is dues. Dues, which is clearly given in section 144B, that dues is nothing but any demand by the society. Of course, it has to be a valid demand. Suppose there is a program that is to be done, or suppose you call me tomorrow for the legal training, and it is decided between the meeting, and I give you some X fees. Now, if it is this fees is decided and it has to be divided by all 10 members, 50 members, then that contribution is a valid demand. So first of all, we must understand what is dues. It is not just maintenance. It is all contributions and all valid dues which we are supposed to pay to the society. And if within 3 months, if it is not paid, then from the date of bill or from the date of due, whichever is later. Suppose one thing is falls on January and one thing falls on the March, then from March he becomes a defaulting member. So that is how the default is always calculated, and therefore for managing committee also it is required that bills are regularly sent to the members. Nowadays we also have a facility of WhatsApp. You can always circulate the e-bills, which is also acceptable form of communication as far as legal communication is concerned. Even the summons of the courts are nowadays being circulated through WhatsApp, and it is considered as a valid receipt, because we all know it is a blue tick that appears when the message is received. So it is a valid notice or valid receipt that is by the other person. So these are all small intricacies and the practical aspects that I wanted to share through this webinar. I hope you find this useful. So just give me a thumbs up and share this on your timeline. So let this reach to a maximum people. So even the managing committee has a responsibility to circulate the maintenance bill on time, so the default can be clearly made out and the action can be clearly taken against the defaulter. Because one person who is defaulting deteriorates the maybe the financial position of the society, and therefore there is a issue which may come in the running smooth operations of the society. So that is the one thing. Now let us talk about the suspension and the expulsion. So suspension is nothing but suspension from the membership. As we have seen the process of obtaining membership, there is a procedure by which a person can be expelled and the suspension happens. Now suspension is much bigger area or much bigger application than expulsion, because when person is expelled from the membership, he becomes a suspended member, or he is suspended as a member of the society. So expulsion is one of area of suspension. However, suspension can happen by way of death or by way of transfer. Suppose A is a member today, tomorrow he sells off the flat to B and B acquires the membership, then A suspends to be a member. So there are such 7-8 areas through which the suspension happens, and I already have a separate YouTube video on suspension and expulsion. You can watch that in our MSD legal channel on YouTube. It is available in Marathi and English. So it is very clearly defined and very elaborately discussed in that video. The section 35 of MCS Act is very clear about the suspension. Basically, the person who is to be suspended, there is a resolution which is required from 2/3 member of the society, and then such resolution, once it is passed for the suspension, it has to be submitted to the applicable society registrar's office, and then you need a valid order from society registrar, wherein he will have to conduct his own hearings, and the opportunity to be heard is given to the such member who is supposed to be suspended, and by hearing both the sides he will give his own orders. And let me tell you, the legal expenses that is being borne for all this litigation cannot be charged to the member by way of a maintenance bill or whatever it is, because every member has a right to seek their own legal remedies, and that cannot be charged by the society to that member. So that you have to understand. Of course, if the society registrars gives the clear orders that this is the litigation expense that has been caused, and if the suspended member has to bear that and pay to the society, then of course it is payable by such member. However, society suo moto cannot charge any kind of a legal charges to any of the members. You need a society registrar's permission for that purpose. So that is very important. Now Christopher D'Souza is asking about what action can be taken against a defaulter. So I am coming to it. Defaulters, I have already discussed what is dues first of all, and who is defaulter. Now action is that you have to send a notice to such defaulter. The notice has to be sent by society to such member. Then such 2 notices are required to be sent with the interval of 15 to 20 days. Then if there is no payment by such member, then legal notice from advocate has to be sent. Then this notice contains all legal parameters. That contains about the consequences of not paying the dues, and also it is a detailed technical notice which is required under MCS Act. So that is been sent, and his another 8 to 10 days may be given to this member as an opportunity to pay the society dues and to become a regular member rather than remain as a defaulting member. And then if still the dues are not paid by such member, then society can very much seek relief from the society registrar, and the recovery petition is filed with the society registrar, wherein the recovery petition mentions about all these notices, the outstanding which is there, and then what is the issue with the payment that may be given consideration by registrar himself, and he holds a hearing, and ultimately the order is passed either in favor of society or in favor of member. In maximum case, order is passed in the society's favor, because as I have told you, as a member it is your to pay the society maintenance and society dues. So unless there is any gross issues with the payment and the billing and the amount that is charged by the society, generally orders are given in favor of society. So I hope that clarifies the doubt of Christopher. And also we were to discuss this topic as a part of our this webinar as such. So I hope you all find this very useful and very handy. So give me a yes if you like this information, and I hope you are sharing this video with your timelines as such. Yes, Vaishali is asking if society secretary is not residing in society premises, then whom we can reach next for any issues. Vaishali, you can reach out to any committee member which is available, because society secretary, as I have told you, he is the executive head. However, the entire committee member, the entire body of the managing committee is responsible and duty bound to take over the issues of the societies. So in the absence of secretary, maybe you can reach out to the other society member, and in that you must mention in your application that society secretary is not available or is not residing in the premises since long or whatever, so that it comes on a record. So in case there is a litigation in going forward, in case there is a litigation, it comes handy. Thank you so much. So thank you for all your appreciations. Sachin Shinde is asking what is M20 bond. Now this is one of the documentation which is required to be submitted to the society along with other application, that is indemnity bonds, certain declarations are there, then prescribed form of application is there which you have to submit for obtaining the membership. Now all this documentation and the technical aspects I am going to cover in the new training program which is upcoming in September. So I welcome you all to join that program. So it is very elaborative, including all these technical details and all those procedural and the conceptual aspects. So there we will discuss that in much details, because we would be having 2-hour sessions there, including the question and answers. So we are already running out of time here. We are close to 10 minutes. So I'll just take this one question. Parshuram, can non-occupancy charges be charged if flat is empty? Obviously, the non-occupancy charges are basically levied by the society, wherein members are not staying in the premises, and if it is empty for more than 6 months. So non-occupancy charges can be as per the society bylaws which is defined. However, presently it is 10% of the maintenance cost. So that is the area wherein you can pay the non-occupancy charges. And also the non-occupancy is considered not only if the flat is empty, but if it is given on the tenancy basis, that is the flat if it is given on a live-in license basis, still it is considered as non-occupancy, because the member himself is not occupying the flat. So therefore it is considered as non-occupancy. And as far as the tenancy is concerned, the member is supposed to file leave license agreement along with police verification, which is conducted for this tenant with the society office or the society management committee. So society is aware about who all persons who are residing in the society, and basically there is no issues with respect to the security of the society. Now let me share here that Best Bakery case which has happened in Pune, wherein it was found in that criminal matter. It was the bomb spot matter actually. So in that matter, it was found that all these terrorists were actually staying in the cooperative societies. So after that, this police verification part has come into picture, and it was implemented since 2013. That police verification has to be made with the local police station, and there is a simple form wherein the names and addresses and all the identification details are given of the member, that is the owner and the tenant, and it has to be submitted to the local police station. So copy of that has also paid to the copy of that also has to be deposited with along with the leave license copy to the society managing committee. So that is again it is a duty of the member that he should do that as a matter of compliance. Now let me take some queries here. What happens if member pays maintenance regularly but unable to pay repair charges? I am not able to read it. Namita, your question is not clear. One thing is, if you are regularly paying the maintenance, you need not worry, because one thing is you will not become a defaulter in any way. Now, as far as this repair charges is concerned, that has to be backed by the society resolution. Now, whether that has to be paid or not paid is a question of fact that depends on if you have any litigation in process, or if that is some dispute is going on with society or the occupant or whatever. So that is a separate area. So here basically two things are mixed in your question. So if you are a regular payer of the maintenance, you need not worry at all. So let us take the last two parts of the session. One is the deemed conveyance. Now deemed conveyance is the big area in itself, and I have been conducting 2-3 hours trainings and regular seminars with large societies on aspects of deemed conveyance. It is very technical area actually, but to understand the nature of deemed conveyance, the very unique thing about deemed conveyance is it is a unilateral agreement. Now let me explain this. I know this is a bit technical. See, every agreement says sale or purchase or leave license or mortgage or any kind of a agreement. If you take as far as the property conveyance is concerned, there are two parties which are there, who is a buyer or seller or owner or tenant, or a bank who is a lender, and a loan who is a loan taking person. So he is the one person who buys, taking the mortgage as such. So in every case there are two cases. However, in case of deemed conveyance, there is only one party which is applying to the DDR, which is a statutory authority under cooperative law, and then the compliance has to be done by way of documentation to prove that we are the owners of the society, and we are subject to we are entitled to have the ownership of land, which is the area of society, and the building, which is the structure of the society. So it is a very big area, but just to give you a broad understanding of deemed conveyance, it is a unilateral agreement wherein society approaches the DDR and they say that builder is not giving us handover of the ownership, he is not giving us the title documents, he is not transferring the title of the land, and therefore we are coming to you to declare us as a owner of the land and building, and that is how it is deemed to be conveyed to the society, and therefore it is named as a deemed conveyance. So I hope I can make this simpler in a very very short manner. So that is the deemed conveyance that happens, and we generally conduct a pre-scrutiny verification for deemed conveyance before the deemed conveyance application is filed by the society, and that includes the verification of three angles. One is verification of from the builder's title, then the owner who is basically bearing the land, and the flat owners or the members, their chain of title, that is also being verified. So there is a lot of documentation and a cross scrutiny of 2-3 or multiple documents which talks to each other. So that is all established before the deemed conveyance application is filed, and so there is no hazards as far as the application once it is filed with as a petition before the DDR. So that is why it is always advisable to do such pre-scrutiny, so we understand what are the flaws which can come up at the time of hearing, and that may lead to an additional stamp duty, that may lead to a direct financial impact on the deemed conveyance part. So this pre-scrutiny, therefore it is very very important, and generally before taking up deemed conveyance we do this pre-scrutiny for all the societies, so we are clear before filing of the deemed conveyance application. So that is as far as deemed conveyance is concerned. Now let us understand the last part of the cooperative law, that is the mechanism under statutory law. What is the statutory mechanism? First is the society registrar, which is deputy registrar of the housing societies, is given the ward-wise jurisdiction, and they are having the quasi-judicial powers, like collectors having the quasi-judicial powers as that of a civil judge. Similarly, society registrar is also class 1 officer, and he is a statutory officer appointed under this cooperative law, and he has a direct judicial role to regulate all the conflicts and disputes or grievance under MCS Act. So first level of judicial mechanism is society registrar, that is deputy registrar. Then you also have additional registrar who is an appellate body as far as the society registrar is concerned, and then you have a cooperative court and civil courts above that, the small causes court or the civil court as the case may be, as your monetary and physical jurisdiction as that may be applied, and of course above that you have high courts and supreme courts. So that is how the statutory mechanism is concerned. For MHADA, we have a separate society registrar who sits in the MHADA building itself. Although it's a MHADA society, still the operations is the same. Even in SRAs, there is a society registrar who operates for the society, SRA societies respectively. So this is how the mechanism under the cooperative law is concerned. I hope you find this webinar very very useful, and the two things which I want to mention is that today we have entered into a 4th year of our office and therefore that was the whole idea of conducting this webinar today. Every year on 15-16 August we have some kind of event that comes up for you all. So I hope you find this very useful, and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel MSD Legal, and also join us on Facebook and WhatsApp. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Maharashtra.